If there's one book that's going to be in everybody's reading list for this year, I'm sure it's going to be this one, Atomic Habits by James Clear. Now, I know this has been famous and has been there for quite some time, but unfortunately, I just got about reading it this year. And I want to share my feelings and thoughts about going through this book and how I reflect on this book based on my life. So, this book says, sold over 1 million copies. I'm sure that the number is much higher now. And I feel like the name gives it all, Atomic Habits. It speaks about how we can make small but substantial changes that can result in huge gains. Now, before I talk about this book, as is with everything in our life, when we go to watch a movie or we go to read a book, we have these preconceived notions, right? And these are mostly formed by, in case of a movie, we watch a trailer or we listen to some reviews, or we have, just reading the title, looking at the book, you have these preconceived notions. Now, for me, going and reading this book, I didn't expect much from this book. I don't know why. I felt it's going to talk about how we can make habits, track habits, a bunch of trackers, how we can use Excel sheets and charts and these kind of things. More about the tools. I thought this book is going to talk about how we can build and maintain tools to track our habits, because I've heard a lot about habit tracking and habit forming, and I don't know, most of those things don't work for me. I have tried a lot of apps for tracking habits. Those things don't work for me, and I don't expect much from people who speak about habits and building habits. I know that it's not something that can't be done. I just feel that it needs more thought and more conscious decision making about it. And this is exactly what this book spoke about. Before it even reached to forming habits, it spoke a lot about the psychology, why the mindset should be so strong into building those habits. And I feel like, same thing in life. If we are going to do something, we should do it in a more conscious way, fully conscious as to why we're doing it. And I feel like if the why is really strong, then you'll be able to do those changes. Now, the things I really strongly feel is that everybody should make changes first and foremost. Before doing anything, they should realize where they themselves stand, right? So for example, if I am in grade 4 and I pick up a book from university and I start reading it and I don't understand it, and I feel, oh, this is just garbage, it doesn't make sense. Now, yes, it doesn't make sense because of my own background. I'm standing on grade 4, my understanding, my perception is limited, and I can't understand what the author is saying in a high school university textbook. So before making any changes, before doing anything, we first have to realize where we ourselves standing, right? Sort of self-realization, self-actualization, if you can call it. And this is something the author makes clear. One of the great things about this book is that the author himself went through a great tragedy. He went through a near fatal accident and he recovered from that. And not only that, he was able to build a career, build a university life, build a career out of it in the best way possible. You must have heard this statement, make the best version of yourself. I feel like that's what we should all aim to. We should not be aiming to become the next Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg or Bill Gates. We don't need another one of those. What we need is the best version of yourself. Right? Again, if you are satisfied with your best version, that's all you need. So this book, defied my expectations. It did not jump into tools and techniques of building habits. It first spoke about psychology. Why do you want to build habits? Why should you work towards your best version, right? Another great thing about this book was, most of the times I would personally fail in building habits and I would blame it to myself. I would say that, I wanted to do this, I couldn't do it, nobody else to blame except myself. But the thing is, there are other forces at play. Now, it speaks a lot about, dopamine effect and how, for example, the food industry is structured in such a way to make you unhealthy. The entertainment industry is structured in such a way that they're going to waste your time. Social media, that's what we say, social media is not free. You are paying, but not with money, but with your time. Time is the currency of social media. So all of these things make you think that, if I, for example, go out and eat unhealthy, then I'm not doing myself harm, I'm doing favors to these external people. Basically, I'm losing and they're winning, right? So if you focus it energy in such a way, then you understand then which factors are in your favor and which factors are not in your favor. It really makes you ponder, right? When you want to do something, you should also understand who are your allies and who are your foes. So for example, if you wanted to become healthy, then you should understand, these industries are your allies and these industries are your foes. And sometimes you will also have, wolf in sheep's clothing, where bad food industries shaped as good healthy industries are selling you stuff which is also bad, in fact even worse than the fast food industry, let's say. And if there's one thing that I really struck to me, is that when you're doing habits, it should become a part of your identity. And he gives an example of a person trying to quit smoking, right? Imagine that there are two people, and then they both are trying to quit smoking, and you go and offer a cigarette to each of them. Now the first one says, "Oh, I'm trying to quit smoking." So what impression does that give you? It gives you the impression that this person is inherently a smoker, and now he's trying to quit smoking. And the other person, when you give him a cigarette, he says, "I'm not a smoker." So basically that person has made an identity shift, or what we call a paradigm shift. He has now chosen to identify himself as a non-smoker, and that makes a huge difference. He's not going to take a cigarette not because he's trying to quit smoking, but because that's not who he is. He's not a smoker, and if he's not a smoker, he's not going to take a cigarette, right? And probably that person is not going to offer him again. If the first person refused once, they will still be offering him because that person came out as inherently a smoker. So I feel, just before going into any habit, we have to internalize it first. We have to make sure that this is what we want. Some things will come easy, some things will come hard, and then there's also a possibility that there are things that we can never do. A great example he gives in the book is about two Olympic athletes. One is a swimmer and the other is a runner. Both have the same height. James Clear says that if they were to switch their sports, the swimmer would never do good in the running sport and the runner would never do good in the swimming sport. And that's because the swimmer's body type, the body structure, is suited for swimming. His torso, his legs, everything's suited exactly for swimming. And same thing with the runner. His torso and body type suited exactly like that of a runner. So basically what these two athletes have done is they have maximized their potential. Whatever cards they were given, they made the most of it. Now they could have said, "Oh, my body type is not that." For example, the swimmer could say, "I'll never become a good runner. My body type is not that of a good runner." Yes, it's true, but have you maximized your potential? Your potential lies somewhere else. Why don't you maximize it there? Right? So instead of just quickly blaming ourselves and saying that, that person was lucky, like I've read a lot of times people criticizing Bill Gates and saying, he was really lucky to have a computer at that time. Most people didn't have it. Yes, but the important lesson we should take from Bill Gates' story is that he had a set of opportunities and he maximized it. Are we doing the same? When we are given that opportunity, do we maximize it? Now this book, it really simplifies things a lot. It really makes you think about, why do we pick up bad habits? Why are good habits not easy to pick up? And again, it goes back to the psychology of the mind. The mind feels that these bad habits are giving you some pleasure. They're giving you some form of happiness, and that's why those habits are easy to pick. Or even and he speaks a lot about how we have evolved over time, but our ancestral traits are still there. For example, survival mode. Our body wants to only take steps that will ensure survival. So for example, if there are two paths, our mind would automatically tell us to take the easy path. Why do you want to put the body into trouble? So the body is always thinking about its survival, right? So that's why we have to understand this. If we want to take habits, we have to make sure that the body is not resisting it. We have to form them in such ways, and the book has plenty of good tips about that. And another good part about this book is it speaks about good habits and bad habits in parallel, and it sort of forms these laws. And if you were to invert these laws, they also apply to bad habits, right? For example, making it easy. I believe it's the third law, making it easy. It means that, try to make your habit as easy as possible. Now, if you invert this law, making it hard, this applies to your bad habits. So if you, for example, in the case of smokers, you try to hide those cigarettes, you don't buy the cigarettes, it's really hard for you to go and find cigarettes. So you have made it so hard to go and smoke that that bad habit will slowly and slowly and slowly die out. So I like this also. The same laws are thought of in such ways that if you were to invert them, they are going to remove your bad habits as well. So overall, I feel it's a great book. It speaks about your mindset. It not only gives you tools and techniques for building good habits and eliminating bad habits, so it also gives you that mindset. And I feel, all of these successful people and authors who are writing such books, their ultimate discovery is to reach that mindset. When they reach that mindset, then these, theories work for them. So first and foremost, what we should do is we should change our mindset. We should come into the mindset, try to make the soil like an absorbing soil. And once we get to that stage, then we can, achieve new habits.